I found that people that had nearly fatal crash, they are more optimistic, more balanced, they enjoy life more because they know that nothing is for granted. So I'm a founder. I push, I strive, I grind, but I don't take the hustle American model as the main reference. I mean, I love my job, I love my people, I have very big ambitions, but this is not my life. It's not the life, It's part of your life in which you have family, you have sports, you have passions, you have friends. I don't want to be in the future the guy who divorced because they were entrepreneur, or the guy who stopped surfing because was entrepreneur. When I listen to interviews on YouTube in which they ask billionaires, what's your, regret? Is not having spent a lot of time with my kids. Everyone the same. So maybe now their kids can have a Lamborghini, but what's the point? Because no one can give you back your time.
This is Marco Imperato, and as you just heard, we're talking about way more than business. He had two fatal crashes in his past, and that completely changed the way that he looks at life and the way that he leads his companies. We're going deep into what it means to be a founder or actually an entrepreneur, as you will hear the difference, and how he leads his life so that his work doesn't become himself, but he can still grind in a way that is sustainable long term for what he's building and what is his vision. I hope you enjoy and let me know what you think in the comments. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Founder Bible. Today we are with Marco. How's it going today?
Super good. Thanks for having me, Ale.
Amazing. Well, we were just chatting before a little bit about the purpose of these conversations, which is shining light a little bit on the behind the scenes of founder's life. And the very first question that I want to ask you is, why are you a founder? Why did you become a founder? And why are you still a founder if you are?
So the answer is very easy. So straight away is to have much more control of my life, because in 2018, the company in which I was the CPO and I built from scratch, I wasn't the founder of the company. In 10 years, just failed in a couple of months because we burned out all the cash. So I suddenly realized that even if I had what we call in Italy the contratto a tempo indeterminato, so the dream of everyone, so the contract in which basically in Italy you cannot be fired. Actually, you don't have any control on your life. So I found myself asking, okay, what's next? I had already one daughter. I was working on the second one. So I just wanted much more control of my life. And then the second thing was, if I have to work anyway, I will decide my own way of working. So this
Definitely.
is the answer.
Amazing. Well, yeah, it's curious because exactly what you said, a lot of people hate or the idea of becoming completely independent, thinking you may have a lot of certainty in other cases. Of course, this is a clear example of what I would call like a face, a wall in the face, right? So another way that I like to ice break the conversation here at the Founder Bible is telling us a little bit your experiences with walls on the face. So when did you hit the first times? What are being the biggest challenges for you? Tell us a little bit about the emotional narrative coming from these experiences that I believe are making right now who you are, right, as a professional and as a leader.
So just to be honest, most of the walls I had on my face, they were before becoming a founder. So we were talking about the purpose of this podcast is super interesting. And you told me like a lot of founders, they are unhappy, they are very stressed out. I'm not. I mean, I like my job, I work a lot, but not as much as I used to work in my previous company. So I'm actively trying to balance my life. So I think I built my resilience before becoming a founder. Then who knows, maybe tomorrow I'm gonna hit a huge wall. Hopefully not, but likely 50% probability as always. Professional walls, let's call them, was 2018, in which I told you. So I was working in this company, was very famous in Italy because was one of the most well-founded company in Italy at the times. So it was founded in 2008. We spent 10 years building the company, having 6 headquarters around the world. And then from many reasons we failed. So this was the very first failure. The second one was that immediately, because I had, two daughters, almost. So the first thought was, okay, now I have to work. And I have to leave Sicily, because I'm Sicilian. I live in Palermo. So I started to do a lot of interviews. And at the very end of the one path, so I had like 10 interviews as a CPO role in one, at the time, famous company in Italy. And they told me no at the end. So I was already planning my life to live in Milan and doing back and forth with 100 flights per year. But the most fun, the most interesting part of these two failures is that probably they are the two best things that could happen in my life. Because if I hadn't failed with the company, I couldn't become an entrepreneur. And then the funny thing is that I met at our yearly conference with more than 1,000 people last year, the HR that actually told me no at the end of the interviews. And I just hugged her and I told her thanks for not having me hired, because otherwise I couldn't be here. And then two very important experiences for me. I have two very bad crashes, one with the car, one with the kite. They are nearly fatal accidents. I was super lucky, just about luck. That's it. And so I found that people that had nearly fatal crash, they are more optimistic, more balanced, they enjoy life more, because they know that nothing is for granted. So I'm a founder. I push. I strive. I grind, but I don't take the hustle American model as the main reference. I mean, I love my job. I love my people. I have very big ambitions, but this is not my life. It's not the life, is part of your life in which you have family, you have sports, you have passions, you have friends. And so at 42, I try to live an integrated life. So
Amazing.
It was a very long answer, but everything is connected to me.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very curious to go deeper into what you mentioned, this change of mindset, right? I feel absolutely the same with my own experiences, and also the more founders that I interview, the ones that really went very, very close to death or to very bad experiences and were able to come out from there, of course, they're actually the ones, as you say, with the highest optimistic level. They really saw what is the worst that can happen. And from there, everything is just a cherry on the cake, right?
Yeah,
Guide us through a little bit more about this. I think it's very, very important, both for the people that went through these experiences and maybe they either didn't process it fully yet, or maybe they didn't didn't even have the chance to say it out loud to the public, or the people that haven't gone through these challenges and they are still stuck with the previous mindset, right? The mindset of, oh shoot, I need to do this and this and this and this, and that's my life. I mean, how do you relate to this?
Okay, obviously it's a very super long process. It takes years. But finally I was talking about this with one of the girls that works with me, and it just went to acceptance. Because when you have I think my mindset is about having impact and control. I think that most of of your life can be influenced by your choices, but not accidents, not illness, not death. Okay. And so the first thing you need to do you need to do that I did. And the second time was easier because I already had once. So I'm joking, but it was exactly as I'm telling you. So the first time was, okay, I started to ask myself why it happened. It was the second day of my my life trip, because it was the trip in Australia after I graduated at university. So it's the trip you dream of. And the third day, because I had the crash, the second day, I found myself in a hospital in Australia without knowing why it happened. Okay. So without going into too many details, otherwise it's gonna take hours. So I started to ask myself why this happened to me. Why? And then I think it took a few days, because I realized that was pointless. There wasn't a why. So there's not a why on things that happen to you. Things happen, shit happen, good things happen. And then as humans, we try to find the meaning. As Steve Jobs said, we try to connect the dots. And I was super sure that it was impossible for me to connect the dots a few days, a few months, a few years after the crashes. Eventually, I would connect the dots many years later. So after asking why, I came to accept that I had this crash. It was very painful to accept it. And I think that I finally accepted 1 year later, because I never cried after the accident. So I was just pushing and moving forward, always moving forward. I didn't tell to my parents in Italy that I had this crash. So I came home 6 months later full of scars in my legs, and they were like dying because they didn't know anything, you know. And but 1 year later, the same day of the crash, I was in Milan because I was studying, and I started to cry without any reason. It was evening, so I just realized that I was fully accepting the event. Okay. And so the second time was easier, was kind of easier. So once you realize that you are alive, that you can move your legs, you say, okay, I know how to manage it. So I need to stay calm, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to think very optimistically, I need to think about the future, I need to think that I'm gonna move through this. And then after you have these experiences, I mean, I changed it. I don't know how much I changed it, but you realize that many things are totally pointless. Like, I mean, that you cannot spend your time about having conversations about who's right, whose fault, about talking about others people, you know, because you realize that time is limited and maybe tomorrow is going to be your day. So I don't want to be, you know, pessimistic, but neither we're living on a YOLO. You only live once, you do everything, you invest everything in Bitcoin, and, you know, or you jump. No, I'm 42, so I go surfing, so I'm much more cautious after these crashes, okay, because I have kids. But these two experiences taught me to be, you know, distant, that you have to be present, that you have to live fully, you have to live with intensity. This is my keyword, intensity. You have to live like every second, even if you read a book or watch a movie, but you realize that you are choosing to watch a movie. This is why I don't use social media at all, because you are not choosing. An algorithm is choosing for you. So this is about the two crashes. I don't know if I replied to your question or not.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how this change went into the way that you approach business. You already told me a lot of these little things that at the end of the day make completely the difference. I'm curious to learn what's your experience on maybe eventually even sharing this change of mindset and this perspective to your team, and as a leadership point of view. How have you seen, I mean, you told me that these experiences happened relatively early in your life when you were almost finished with university.
I was 24, and the second one I was 30.
Okay.
Second crash.
So do you think that these, how do you feel these experiences fueled you differently when it comes to professional life, when it comes to professional realization?
Okay, this is an interesting question because I don't think these episodes are strictly tied to what I do right now. So I never talk about them, actually. I don't know why. Maybe just I don't talk about them. I mean, with my family, obviously, with my friends, sometimes I remember, but I mean, I didn't tell anyone about, they know about the crashes, but they don't know about the process and stuff. Because they are very strong experience, it's strange, It's strange because, to me, because maybe you're complaining because someone steals your car. okay, you will buy another car. So, so how these things influenced myself on the business. So first thing, these experiences plus 1 year during COVID in which I lost one very close friend and two people that I know very deeply. I think this allowed me to have different approach on managing the business. So first thing, together with the failure of the company in which I used to work. Okay, so first thing, I know that we can fail tomorrow. I know it. I mean, it's math. That's it. It's math. We are very lucky to having survived after 5 years. The company is going super good, but I'm not taking for granted. So product market fit is not permanent. is a finite time. So there is product market fit collapse. I know that we can lose product market fit tomorrow. We lost product market fit on some products. We need to regain product market fit. We found product market fit on new products. So I came from product management, so I know very well how it works. So I know very well that if a thing is going good and you're not investing on it, the only direction can take is to worst case scenario, go bad and then fail. So the first thing, I know that tomorrow we can fail. And I'm okay with it. I'm super okay. Because the way in which I managed the process to become an entrepreneur, given that I'm not so brave in my life, I organize my life to survive. Because in the long run, you need to survive. And you're not coming from US with a Navy in 1960, okay? You throw everything, we are in Europe. I'm very lucky. I have my family. And so I know that if I'm going to fail tomorrow, it's okay. It's going to be super painful. I know very well because it happened to me once, but I wasn't the founder. But it's okay. It's part of the process. I think one framework that I use is that as long as I'm learning on product, on investors, on team management, on co-founders relationship, it is worth it. Second thing is that I'm totally aware that I'm not building the next, I would say Google or Meta, but I can say Perplexity or OpenAI or, Anthropic. I'm not doing this. And I don't want to do that because I know that in order to do that, you need to sacrifice a lot of things in your life that I'm not willing to sacrifice. And so it's super important to me that I'll give you concrete example, okay? Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. Being a founder, an entrepreneur, because founder is a very abused word. It's too much, because everyone is a founder. Even if you have a newsletter or a blog, you're a founder, and you are, but you are not an entrepreneur. As long as you are managing just one thing, not taking too much money, not managing, you are not an entrepreneur. So if you're an entrepreneur, yes, you have control of everything, but the problem is that you have a direct impact on your success. While if you are an employee, you are not. If you're an entrepreneur, you know that if you work on the right output that can generate the right outcome, you can have a huge leverage because you have people, you have technology, you have money, okay? So the basic principle is, okay, I can work 120 hours per week because the company is mine, okay? I can work 80 hours per week. I can work 15 hours per day, 12 hours per day. And there are periods in which I do that, not 120, not 80, but 60. There are periods in which I work all the Saturday, maybe I work 8 to 8 as the last 2 days, but this is not why I'm an entrepreneur. Okay, I'm an entrepreneur because I have more control, I have more leverage, I can make much more money per hour than when I am an employee. But I'm not that guy in which I want to build the next Meta. I want to build something substantial. But if there are waves, like yesterday, I will take 3 hours, stop at lunch. I will go surfing. I know. I could have worked those 3 hours, but I know that in the long run, and it happened because I had a few injuries doing surf or jiu-jitsu, so I had to stop for a few months. If I do just working, I don't work. I work as a job. So I'm wired in a way that if I just work, I'm doing, how do you call it? Like decremental, I don't know. So,
okay. So your performance
I don't remember
keeps going lower and lower.
Yeah. The performance per hour is going lower, even if I work more.
Yeah, diminishing returns. Yeah, definitely.
Diminishing returns. That's the point.
Okay, let me make a quick break from the show to explain you why this project came alive. 6 months ago, I started interviewing founders to understand what were the secret sauces for their success. But even more importantly, I was curious to understand how much pain they had to go through in order to achieve their dreams. I've been an entrepreneur myself for the past 10 years, and I know exactly how painful this journey is, but very few people are actually willing to talk about it. And that's exactly what we're doing at the Founders Bible for Resilience. We're finally breaking the toxic hustle culture behind startup life. I'm on a mission to build a new generation of founders that can leverage ancient wisdom and science for true long-term peak performance and longevity. If you want to be part of this movement, then check out wholegrainwisdom.com and join us now. Okay, now back to the show. You anticipated the question that I was going to ask you next, which is, given such profound experiences and now these experiences as a founder, you said before you have control, and you have control to do what you really want, and you know very well what your life is worth by now and where is it better and more worthy to spend your time. So what can you tell me about the purpose and the why you're doing what you're doing, or just not only in business, but like how, like from these experiences, were you able to create some kind of personal filter to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do this stuff anymore. Like, this is not worth my time. This is not meaningful for me. Like, I guess you kind of created such a filter, such a funnel to go through, or not?
I wish I had a proper filter, and I wish I could say no to things that I don't want to do. But being an entrepreneur, you have a lot of duties to do, just for the respect of your team that believes in you. So everyone knows that I take my breaks or my holidays to go surfing or kiting or things, but they know that I work my ass off when I need to. Okay, this is super important. Because if you are a solopreneur, maybe something I'm gonna explore, I don't know when, 10 years, 15 years, next year, I don't know. It's different. If you have a newsletter, you can say, okay, good, I'm not pushing anymore. If you are an entrepreneur, you have investors, it's not like that. So it's very hard to build the filter, but because anyway, you have goals, you have business plans to achieve, you have payrolls, But what I'm trying to getting better at is prioritization. That is the single thing that has the most impact on your life. There is not such a thing as prioritization. So that is not deciding what to do, but deciding what not to do is where people get confused. Because usually people, and I struggle a lot with everyone, because no one wants to say no to anything, because everyone wants to diversify. But there is a very famous quote about Warren Buffett that says, if you know what you're doing, diversifying doesn't make any sense, something like that. So I don't know exactly everything about what I'm doing, but if you want to build something big, you need to take risk. And so you have to prioritize. You have to say no and stop. This is the muscle I'm trying to build. So I'm a very disciplined person, but I'm starting to learn to say no even more and having more focus. And this is the filter to me, because there are some things I need to do, but you don't have to do everything.
Amazing. I want to end up the conversation with a question that I usually ask everyone. And as I was telling you before we hit record on the podcast, I see founders and entrepreneurs as high professional athletes, right? So we perform at incredibly high levels, but the difference is that we don't really have a proper team or a club or a federation to support our growth and our peak performance. We always try to do it by our own. Most of the times we may not have all of the support we need. So if you could design your ideal support system, maybe it's already there, maybe you already built it, and you have unlimited budget, or like you can call whoever you want or just implement whatever you think it's super important for you, like your secret sauce, your perfect recipe for the ideal support system for you as an entrepreneur, not for your team. We're not talking about building a team for the employees. You have 5 seats. Who would you put in, or what?
I can tell you what I'm doing actually, because I have my team. Because I think what you're saying is super true. And most of the entrepreneurs I know, they are building things alone, but the most successful, they are not alone. So what I do is that I have what I call my personal board of directors. So there are 4 or 5 people with different specialization. So they are very, high achievers, everyone, but maybe someone is more specialized in finance, someone more in product. So, and I call them every 3 months, but just when I have a problem that I know that I need different angles, Then I used to have a coach that helped me on different phases. The problem with coaching that I found is that they can go just up to a certain level, business coach, okay? And then I have mentors. Mentors are people that so coach help you to grow from a personal point of view. Mentors help you to grow on specific hard skills. So I need to launch Product Heroes in 3 different countries. Okay, I will talk with 2 people, super expert on localization or internationalization. We need to acquire 1 company. Okay, good. I will take 2 hours with the guys super good at M&A. So this is how I'm managing this. The only thing I want to integrate is the therapist. I would like to start because in Italy we have a very strange point of view feeling about going into therapy. It's like you are sick, you have problem, and you need to go to therapist. I did it just once for 10 times a few years ago. Was super helpful for me, because you realize that you don't talk to anyone about what you really feel, about your real problems, things that you're even scared about mention to yourself, because you feel, you feel ashamed about how bad I am that I want this thing or I don't want to do that. So to me, the missing point is having a therapist, because at the end, my point of view, you are not an entrepreneur, you are a person in which entrepreneurship is a super important part of your life, like that, but is a part. And to make entrepreneurship work, you need to make all the other pieces work. So I don't want to be in the future the guy who divorced because I know a lot of people that divorced because they were entrepreneur, or the guy who stopped surfing because was entrepreneur. And then I don't know if it happened to you, when I listen to interviews on YouTube in which they ask billionaires, what's your, regret? Is not having spent a lot of time with my kids. Everyone the same. So maybe now their kids can have a Lamborghini, but what's the point? Because no one can give you back your time. So that's the point to me. So these 5 people that you mentioned, I already have. I don't necessarily think that having Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, or Warren Buffett in this board would make this big difference, because you can take a lot from them by reading, by listening, and they have a very different life from yours. So one thing that I learned is that if you want to be like Elon Musk, you need to embrace Elon Musk life. You cannot be just as smart as he is, but you need to take the whole life. So like grinding every day, I'm for sure he's a genius, like the best of the best. I don't know right now, so I'm a little bit confused about Elon Musk right now. But the thing that I know for sure, I don't want to be him 100%, neither Jeff Bezos or the others. I want to be myself.
I prefer to go surfing,
a better
absolutely.
Version. A better version of myself. This is what I'm striving for.
Yes, this is super amazing. Actually, when you were saying before about their biggest regret of the billionaires, I remember a very clear interview. I don't remember to who actually, but he said, success is not money, is not anything, is going back home or building a home where your family, your children, your relatives, your friends are happy to come in and spend time in, right? So this is the most important thing. At the end of the day, we are social animals. If we build whatever we think it's materialistic success, and then eventually we have nobody to share it with, it's probably a little bit sad. Wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Marco, for the conversation.
Thank you, Alex.